Get ready to dream. Close your eyes, the story is about to begin. In Asgard, a dark and stormy sky loomed over the land of the gods, reflecting the unrest that had settled in Thor's heart. The god of thunder, with his golden hair whipped by the wind, walked through the vast throne room where Odin, his father and the All-Father, was lost in deep thought. The air was charged with electricity, and lightning sliced through the sky like harbingers of a grim fate. "Father," Thor began, his voice strong and resonant, "I sense that something terrible is approaching." The winds whisper the name of Jormungandr. Odin raised his eyes, his expression grave. "Ragnarok, my son, is a possibility we cannot ignore. The Serpent of Midgard is not merely a monster, it is a symbol of the chaos that may be unleashed upon our world. We cannot stand idly by, waiting for destruction to come upon us," Thor retorted, his fist clenched. "I must depart and confront this creature before it is too late." "You are rushing," Odin warned, his deep voice echoing in the hall. "The gods are divided, and many doubt your ability to stop Jormungandr. Distrust is a shadow that stretches between us." Thor felt the weight of those words, but his determination did not waver. He knew that strength did not lie solely in his ability to wield Mjolnir, but in his capacity to unite the gods and humans in a common purpose. "If they do not believe in me, then I will go alone. But I will not be intimidated by doubt." The winds intensified, and a terrifying vision began to form before Thor. He saw Jormungandr rising from the depths of the ocean, its scales gleaming sinisterly under the lightning's glow. The colossal serpent writhed, and its piercing gaze seemed to pierce Thor's very heart. "Destruction will come," the serpent whispered in a voice that echoed like the roar of the sea. "The gods will fall, and Ragnarok cannot be avoided." "No, this cannot be true," Thor murmured, his spirit battling against the despair the vision brought. He turned to Odin, who was watching the scene with a serious expression. "We must act, and now." Odin considered his son's words, his gaze lost in the vastness of the stormy sky. "You have my support, but remember, Thor, the path will be filled with challenges. The fight will not only be against Jormungandr, but against the weaknesses that exist among us." Then, Thor set out to gather the gods in a council. He summoned the main deities of Asgard, and the room filled with murmurs and distrustful glances. "Brothers and sisters," he began, his voice resonating with the conviction of a leader. "We stand before an enemy that could destroy everything we hold dear. Jormungandr is not merely a serpent, it is the embodiment of chaos that threatens our realms." "You are bold," Thor, Heimdall, the guardian of Bifrost, replied critically. "But many of us fear that your quest for glory may lead us to ruin." "Glory? This is not about glory," Thor retorted, his frustration showing. "If we are not united, we will be defeated. We must set aside our differences and fight together." The tension in the air was palpable. Odin, sensing the division, intervened. "Each of us carries fears and doubts. However, the history of Asgard is made of courage. If Thor believes we must unite, we must give him a chance." With a nod, Thor felt a renewed wave of determination. "Then it is decided. I will set out in search of allies. Those who doubt us, who doubt me, may join us, or be left behind. The fate of all realms hangs in the balance." And so, with a heavy heart but determined spirit, Thor prepared for the journey ahead. He knew the path would be filled with challenges and tests, but he was ready to face any obstacle, no matter how insurmountable it seemed. The battle against Jormungandr was only the beginning, and he was determined to fight for a future where gods and humans could coexist in harmony. Thor strode through the human village with firm steps, his red cloak billowing in the wind. The wooden houses, with thatched roofs, had a rustic and welcoming air, but the atmosphere was thick with tension. The villagers, upon seeing the god of thunder, stopped what they were doing, exchanging looks of admiration and fear. He knew that his presence there was not just a visit, but a call to action. The sound of distant drumming echoed, and he made his way toward the source of the noise, where he found a group of warriors preparing for a harvest festival. In the midst of the commotion, a young woman stood out. Elara, the warrior, wore simple armor that revealed her determination. Her brown hair danced in the wind, and her expression was one of resolve. Thor, impressed by her bravery, approached approached her. "Elara, daughter of Midgard," Thor said, his voice deep. "I sense that your heart is fearless and that you possess more than just strength. Do you know of the serpent, Jormungandr?" Elara paused, surprised. "Jormungandr? Everyone speaks of him as a monster, but I have something that may interest you." She pulled out an ancient book, its withered pages bound to a cord around her neck. It is a prophecy passed down through generations. It speaks of a guardian, not a destroyer. Thor's eyes gleamed with curiosity. "A guardian? Tell me more." The ancient said that the serpent was tasked with maintaining the balance between the worlds. Its release could bring chaos, but it might also be the key to salvation, Elara explained, her voice steady. "Whatever the case, we need to understand what this means before it's too late." Thor felt a wave of hope wash over him. "Together, we can uncover the truth. But we will need more allies. I know a wise dwarf, Grond. He has knowledge about the secrets of Jormungandr." Elara nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "Then let's go to him. We cannot wait any longer." With newfound purpose, the two set out towards the mountain where Grond resided. The journey was long, and the path grew steeper with each step. As they walked, Elara couldn't help but ask, "Do you really believe we can unite the gods and humans? They are so divided." Thor looked toward the horizon, reflecting. "I believe that true strength lies not just in battle, but in unity. If we can show that we are stronger together, perhaps we can avert Ragnarok." Finally, they arrived at Grond's forge, where the smell of molten metal and smoke filled the air. The dwarf, with disheveled hair and a long beard, was focused on his work. When he saw Thor, his eyes lit up with recognition. "Thor, the mighty! What brings you here in such dark times?" Grond asked, setting aside his tools. "Grond, I need your wisdom. We are about to face Jormungandr, but the serpent is not just an enemy. Elara believes she is a guardian. Do you know anything about that?" Thor explained, gesturing to Elara. "Ah, the brave young one. I've heard rumors about you," Grond said, looking at her with interest. "Yes, the serpent has a deep history. She was imprisoned by the gods in ancient times to maintain peace among the realms. However, the story is more complex. The serpent has a vital role to play, but many fear what they do not understand." Elara stepped closer, firmly holding the book. "We need to know how we can prepare to deal with Jormungandr." "What can we do?" Grond thought for a moment, his eyes fixed on the book. "The answer may lie in the ancient inscriptions, but you must be prepared to hear truths that may not please everyone. The serpent is not what she seems." "We are ready," Thor replied, already feeling that the journey was just beginning. "We will not let fear paralyze us." With renewed determination, the three began to plan the next stage of their adventure, knowing that together they could unravel the mysteries surrounding Jormungandr and perhaps save both the gods and humans from the approaching threat. In the forge lit by a reddish glow, Grond, the wise dwarf, worked tirelessly. The sound of the hammer against the metal echoed like distant thunder, and the air was thick with smoke and heat. Thor and Elara, upon entering the forge, were immediately enveloped by the vibrant atmosphere of creativity and knowledge. The walls were adorned with ancient runes and images of past battles, each telling the story of a time when gods and dwarves fought side by side. "Ah, Thor, the god of thunder," exclaimed Grond, lifting his head to face the illustrious visitor. "What brings you to my humble forge? It is not common to see a god seeking a dwarf. Are you in search of weapons, or perhaps wisdom?" "Both, Grond. Time is short, and the fate is dark," Thor replied, his voice rumbling like contained thunder. "We need your skills and your knowledge about Jormungandr. They say you know the secrets of the serpent." Grond wiped his grease-stained hands and approached. "The serpent of Midgard, you say? Ah, I know the stories well. Jormungandr is not just a monster to be feared, she is part of the balance between the worlds. Imprisoned by the gods, her presence is necessary to maintain order." Elara, who had been listening attentively, interrupted. "So, what do we need to do to ensure she is not our enemy but rather an ally?" The prophecy I carry speaks of a ritual that can pacify her. Grond nodded, his eyebrows furrowing in contemplation. Yes, there are ancient rituals that can calm the serpent's fury. But they require the union of the realms, and that is something many are not willing to do. We need to unite humans and gods, Thor asserted, his determination growing. I cannot fight Jormungandr without the support of all. And yet, I feel that the divisions between us are only increasing. You are right, Thor. Division is the most powerful weapon our enemy can wield against us, Grond said, looking at Alara. And a war between gods and humans will only strengthen the serpent and her instincts for destruction. Alara felt a weight in her heart. But how can we convince the gods to listen? They see humans as inferior, as mere mortals who do not understand what is at stake. If you can prove your worth, Alara, perhaps they will change their minds, suggested Grond, his gaze piercing. You carry a part of the prophecy, and that may be the key. But remember, trust is a scarce currency among gods and humans. The conversation was interrupted by a rumble from outside the forge. Thor rushed to the entrance and saw shadows moving in the gloom, shadows that were all too familiar. It seems the giants are approaching, he said, turning to Grond and Alara. We need to prepare. With his heart racing, Grond began to gather tools and weapons. Let us defend ourselves. But, Thor, while you fight, do not forget that the true battle is for unity. You are a god, but strength does not only lie in your physical power. Inspire confidence in everyone around you. I will do that, Thor promised, feeling the urgency of the situation. But we need to move fast. If we do not unite now, we will be defeated before we even confront Jormungandr. In the end, the balance between the worlds depends on all of us, Grond added, as they all prepared for the impending battle. And the serpent, as terrible as she may be, can also be our ally if we can restore what has been lost. As the tension mounted in the air, Thor felt the weight of his responsibility. He would not fight just for himself, but for all the worlds at stake. And, more importantly, he was determined to unite gods and humans in the fight against what was to come. With this mission in mind, he looked at Alara and Grond, ready to face whatever may come. In the dark realm of the giants, the atmosphere was tense. Loki, the god of mischief, watched closely the movements of Thor and his new allies through a magical crystal that reflected the happenings in Asgard and the human lands. A cunning smile formed on his lips as he pondered his next moves. Ah, my dear brother, he murmured to himself, you are moving like pawns on a chessboard, and I am the maestro of this symphony of chaos. Loki then addressed one of his dark creatures, an evil spirit that fed on fear and discord. Go, my faithful emissary, he commanded, his voice laden with malice. Spread the seed of distrust among humans and gods. Make them believe that betrayal lurks in every shadow. The spirit, shrouded in ethereal mist and shadows, nodded and vanished in a whirlwind of darkness, ready to carry out its master's orders. Meanwhile, Thor and his allies, Alara and Grond, were on their way to an ancient submerged temple where they hoped to find the secrets needed to face Jormungandr. We are close, Grond said, his eyes shining with excitement. The inscriptions in the temple may contain the ritual we need. We must unite the realms, and this ritual could be the key. Alara looked at Thor, her determination visible on her face. But how can we unite the gods and the humans if the distrust between us is so palpable? Each day that passes, I feel we are further apart than we should be. Thor, hearing his friend's concerns, replied firmly, we need to have faith in each other. The battle ahead is not only against Jormungandr, but against the distrust that Loki is trying to sow. If we do not unite, we will be lost. However, as they approached the temple, Loki's evil spirit began its task. In a small village, he manifested in the form of whispers and shadows, insinuating that the human warrior was there only to deceive the gods. Humans are untrustworthy, echoed his voice. She is only using Thor's power for her own ends. The spirit's words spread like fire on dry straw. Distrust began to sprout among the villagers, and soon, the rumors reached the ears of the gods in Asgard. The atmosphere of tension increased, and they began to question the alliance they were forming with the humans. Back at the temple, Thor, Alara, and Grond finally arrived at the entrance, adorned with ancient inscriptions and symbols that pulsed with power. Here we are, said Thor, gazing at the ornate walls. If the legends are true, this place holds not only knowledge but the key to our survival. Gron began to examine the inscriptions, his fingers gliding over the carvings. We need to perform the ritual with the union of all realms. But if the gods do not accept Elara, we will be in trouble. The warrior took a deep breath, the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. If they do not trust me, there is nothing I can do. We need to show them that we are stronger together. Meanwhile, the seed of discord continued to grow. In Asgard, a group of gods, led by one of Thor's brothers, began to debate the alliance. Why should we trust a human? One of them questioned, looking distrustfully at Odin. She may have hidden intentions. Odin, though concerned, tried to calm the spirits. We need everyone on our side, and Elara is a valuable ally. We cannot let ourselves be swayed by unfounded suspicions. But the doubt had been cast, and Loki, smiling in his chamber, watched the scene unfold. This just makes the game more interesting, he thought, pleased with the chaos he had begun to generate. Back at the temple, Thor and his allies were unaware of the storm that was approaching. With renewed determination, they prepared to uncover the secrets of the inscriptions, believing that the key to uniting the realms was within reach. But Loki's shadow was closer than they imagined, and distrust was about to turn into an even greater challenge. The wind howled against Thor's face as he and his allies navigated a sturdy vessel, cutting through the turbulent waves of the ocean. The sky was heavy with dark clouds, and in the distance, lightning danced, echoing the turmoil that was forming not only in the waters but also in his heart. Beside him, Elara gazed at the horizon with a mixture of determination and apprehension. "What do you think we will find in the heart of the ocean?" she asked, breaking the silence that hung between them. "I hope we find the serpent before it finds us," Thor replied, his voice deep and firm. "But I feel that there is more at stake than just a duel. Something bigger is approaching." Elara nodded, recalling Gron's words about the balance between the worlds and Jormungandr's role. "What if the serpent is not the true enemy, Thor? What if what we need is to unite the realms instead of fighting against a force that has been misunderstood?" "We need to find out before it's too late," Thor said, looking to the sky, where lightning became increasingly frequent. "The storms are not just meteorological. They reflect the conflicts unfolding between humans and gods." As the vessel sailed, the weather grew more hostile. The choppy sea seemed more like a living entity, reacting to the tension rising between the realms. Suddenly, without warning, massive waves began to rise, threatening to engulf the ship. "Get ready!" Thor shouted, raising his hammer, Mjolnir, which shone brightly. "Elara, hold on tight." The warrior, experienced in battles, grasped the mast while the crew fought to maintain control of the helm. The boat pitched violently, and water splashed around them. In the chaos, Thor looked around, realizing that the struggle was not just against the elements. The real challenge would be uniting humans and gods. "We need to unite. If we work together, we can overcome this storm," he shouted to his crew, who were battling the waves. Seeing the determination in his eyes, some of the men began shouting words of encouragement, trying to support one another. "Thor, the storm is not natural," Elara shouted, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "I sense an evil presence. It could be Loki. He will not leave us in peace," Thor grumbled, his muscles tense as he prepared to use his powers. "We need to reach Jormungandr before he destroys our alliance." With a powerful movement, Thor raised Mjolnir, summoning a lightning bolt that illuminated the sky. The electric energy spread, dissipating some of the dark clouds, but the storm continued to roar. The water around the ship began to bubble, and the figure of a giant emerged from the depths, its intentions clearly hostile. "Fight! Fight as if your lives depend on it," Thor bellowed, sending waves of energy toward the giant that was trying to dismantle the boat. The men, now inspired by Thor's bravery, stood tall and began to fight valiantly. "We need more strength, Thor," Elara shouted, wielding her sword with skill. "If we do not unite our efforts, the giant will defeat us." "You're right, Elara," Thor shouted back, realizing that true strength lay in unity. "Let's all come together. With a coordinated movement, Thor and Alara attacked the giant, combining Thor's powers with Alara's skill and agility. When the giant was finally defeated, a moment of silence followed, broken only by the sound of the waves. "This was just a taste of what is to come," Thor said, breathing heavily. "We need to stick together. We need to find the submerged temple that Gron mentioned." "What do you think we will find there?" Alara asked, looking into Thor's eyes, searching for courage and hope. "Perhaps the key to pacifying Jormungandr and restoring the balance we so desperately need," Thor replied, his determination renewed. "Let's move forward. We need to unite, humans and gods, before Loki causes more damage." With that, they set off toward the temple, ready to face whatever lay ahead, determined to unite the realms against the growing darkness that threatened to engulf everything around them. Thor, Alara, and Gron were gathered in a submerged cave, the echoes of flowing water around them creating an almost mystical atmosphere. The light that entered through the cracks in the rock illuminated the space, revealing ancient drawings on the walls that seemed to tell the story of the serpent and the gods. The atmosphere was tense, as they knew that the ritual they were about to perform could be the only hope to pacify Jormungandr and prevent the approaching catastrophe. "We need the unity of all the realms to make this work," Thor said, his gaze firm and determined. "If the gods do not unite with humans, we will not be able to control the serpent." Alara, with her wet hair and intense eyes, looked at Thor. "You know them better than I do. They will not trust me. I am just a mortal, a warrior. How can I convince the gods to join us?" Grond, who was at his makeshift forge, raised his head and replied, "Trust must be earned, Alara. You have a crucial role here. The prophecy you carry in your heart may be the key to uniting the worlds. You are more than just a mere human, your lineage is more powerful than you realize." The warrior frowned, confused. "Lineage? What do you mean by that?" "The ancient texts speak of a warrior who, alongside Thor, would have the power to unite gods and humans. It is believed that you are that chosen one," Alara, Grond explained, his calloused hands holding a hammer. "You need to believe in yourself." As the three discussed, a group of gods led by Tyr, the god of war, entered the cave. Their armor shone in the dim light, and distrust was evident on their faces. "What is happening here?" Tyr asked, his voice echoing off the walls. "What are you plotting?" "I feel that the alliance between gods and humans is essential for the ritual we are about to perform," Thor said, trying to keep calm. "We need your help. Jormungandr is not just an enemy, he is a guardian of the balance between our worlds." One goddess, Freya, crossed her arms and shot a skeptical look. "And why should we trust a mortal? We know nothing of her intentions. It could be a trap set by Loki." Alara, sensing the tension rising, decided to speak up. "I can prove my worth. My fight is not just for myself, but for all of us. Jormungandr is not the true enemy. He is being manipulated, just like us. If we do not unite, we will all perish." The gods murmured among themselves, distrust prevailing. Tyr looked at Thor and said, "Your feelings for this mortal may be clouding your judgment, brother. We cannot risk the fate of Asgard and the human realms on a nebulous prophecy." Thor felt frustration growing inside him. "Tyr, look around you. Ragnarok is approaching, and if we do not stand strong together, we will be destroyed. True strength does not lie in distrust, but in acceptance and unity." The atmosphere was tense, and Thor's words echoed in the cave. Grond, sensing the rising tension, intervened. "If we are unable to unite, we will have no chance against Loki and his treacherous plans. We need all realms, all beings, to restore balance." The gods hesitated, but Alara's resistance and Thor's determination began to break down the barriers. Freya, still skeptical, finally stepped forward. "If you, Alara, truly are who you say you are, then prove it. Show us that you deserve our trust. Only then can we consider your proposal." "I am not just a warrior," Alara replied, her voice strong and resolute. "I am the guardian of a new era. If you allow me, I will fight alongside Thor and you to restore balance and ensure our survival." The tension still hung in the air, but slowly, Elera's words began to resonate, touching the hearts of the gods. The battle for unity was just beginning, but there was a spark of hope in the air, a promise that together they could face what was to come. The atmosphere in the submerged temple was charged with tension, as if the very waters of the ocean sensed the unrest that permeated the air. Thor, standing on a stone altar covered in moss and algae, observed the faces of the gods surrounding him. The dim light filtering through the cracks in the ceiling illuminated their expressions of skepticism. The murmurs intensified as the gods exchanged wary glances, especially towards Elera, the human warrior who had joined him. "Why should we trust a mortal?" Baldur questioned, with a tone of disdain. "She knows nothing of our traditions or the gravity of our challenges." "Baldur, do you not see?" Thor replied, his voice firm but laced with frustration. "Elera is not just a mortal. She carries the wisdom of her ancestors and the courage that many of us have lost. We need her, just as she needs us." Elera, seated next to Thor, felt the weight of distrust heavy on her shoulders. She took a deep breath before standing up. "I am not an usurper, but an ally. The prophecy I carry is not just a burden, but a call for unity. Jormungandr is a guardian, not an enemy. Our destinies are intertwined." The gods exchanged glances, but the division among them was becoming increasingly evident. Frigg, the goddess of fertility and love, raised her hand, calling for silence. "If what Elera says is true, then we must listen. But what if this is all a trap set by Loki? He has always lurked, waiting for a weakness among us." Thor felt his heart race. "Loki is not here now, but we know he is on the move. We must act before he can sabotage our alliance. What Elera has brought is a chance to avoid Ragnarok, and we cannot let it slip away. We need to unite our powers to perform the ritual, and that requires mutual trust." The murmurs continued, as if the water itself hesitated to move. Thor knew that distrust could be the ruin of their plans, but he also felt the need to show the gods that true strength lies in unity. "I am willing to fight alongside Elera. If she fails, I will be the first to accept punishment. But if we succeed, let that prove that we are stronger together." One of the gods, Tyr, the god of war, stood up. "I trust your word, Thor. It is time to set aside old rivalries. If the serpent is truly a key to our future, we must try." At that moment, Loki, hidden in the shadows of the temple, watched with a sly smile. He knew that distrust was growing among the gods, and his plan to sow discord was unfolding perfectly. What they did not know was that his manipulation was about to intensify. As the gods agreed on the need to move forward, a wave of malignant energy flooded the temple, and the lights began to flicker. Loki had cast his spell, creating illusions that distorted reality. The faces of the gods twisted, and Elera, who was about to speak again, was surrounded by a dark fog. "Traitor," shouted one of the gods, pointing at her. "You are a spy for Loki." "No, that's not true," Elera exclaimed, desperate. "I will fight for you. I am here to help." Thor, realizing that Loki was trying to destroy the alliance they had built, raised his hand and shouted, "Enough. I will not allow Loki's lies to tear us apart. Elera, show them who you really are." With that, Elera concentrated, her energy beginning to glow in a golden hue. "I am descended from an ancient lineage, connected to the gods. My blood is sacred, and my fight is for unity, not discord." The gods paused, surprised, and the fog began to dissipate, revealing Elera's true essence. The looks of distrust began to fade, but the shadow of Loki's manipulation still lingered over them. Tension mounted as Thor prepared to confront the growing division, aware that they were on the brink of a collapse that could lead to their ruin. The waters of the ocean churned beneath the dark and stormy sky, and the atmosphere was charged with tension as Thor and his allies approached the lair of Jormungandr. The scent of salt and the cold breeze cut through the air, while a deep roar echoed from the depths of the sea. The god of thunder, with his hammer Mjolnir in hand, gazed at the vastness of the waters, apprehension reflected on his face. Beside him, Elera, the fearless human warrior, and Grond, the wise dwarf, prepared for what might be the most crucial battle of their lives. "Are we ready for this?" Elera asked, her voice steady, but a slight tremor betraying her anxiety. The serpent is a force of nature. We need to be careful. Thor took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. I can no longer hesitate. Jormungandr is the key to the balance we seek. If we can convince her to help us, we can stop Loki and prevent Ragnarok. I hope you know what you're doing, Grond observed, his wise eyes assessing the situation. If the serpent is as enraged as they say, it may be more challenging than we imagine. With a nod, Thor stepped forward, his feet firmly planted on the deck of the boat that had brought them there. As they approached a submerged rock formation, he felt Jormungandr's presence growing, a wave of power reverberating through the waters. Jormungandr, he called, his voice echoing over the roar of the waves. We come in peace. We need your help. A heavy silence settled in, and then suddenly, the water churned violently. The colossal serpent emerged, its scales shining under the faint light that penetrated the surface. Its eyes, deep as the abyss, locked onto Thor, assessing him. Thor, god of thunder, why do you disturb my waters? Its voice was a roar, but there was an underlying curiosity. Thor raised his hammer in a gesture of respect. We have come to seek your help against Loki, who wishes to free you to bring about Ragnarok. You are not merely a monster, but a guardian of the balance between the worlds. We need you to stop this calamity. Jormungandr twisted its massive body, the water around it splashing in waves. Loki, the god of trickery, wishes for my freedom? He has always sought destruction. Why should I help you, Thor? Ilera, sensing the serpent's hesitation, stepped forward cautiously. Jormungandr, we understand that you have been imprisoned, but your liberation will not bring peace. Loki wants to use your power for his own ends. Together, we can restore what has been lost. The serpent regarded Ilera, intrigued. And you, human, why do you care about the gods and their wars? What do you have to gain? I am not just any human, Ilera replied, her voice firm. I am the bearer of a prophecy that speaks of the balance you protect. Together, we can rewrite destiny and create a future where humans and gods coexist in harmony. The serpent seemed to ponder, its gaze drifting towards the horizon. What do you propose, then? What can I do that the gods could not achieve? We need to unite forces. Together, we can confront Loki and his treacherous plans. You are not just a creature of the sea, you are a force of nature that can help restore order, Thor insisted, his determination shining through. If you join us, we can show the realms that true power lies in unity. For a moment, Jormungandr hesitated, its scales glistening under the moonlight. You speak of unity, but the gods and humans have always been in conflict. Why should I believe that this will change? Because I know that the gods can err as well, Thor replied, his tone laden with sincerity. And together, we can correct those mistakes. Loki is manipulating us all. We need to end this before it's too late. However, before Jormungandr could respond, a shadow passed over the water. Loki, with a mischievous smile, appeared floating above the waves, his presence bringing a chilling cold. Ah, Thor, always the hero. Always so idealistic. He laughed, a sound that echoed in a sinister way. Do you really think you can persuade Jormungandr to join you? The serpent is an untamable force. And I am the true master of the game. Thor turned quickly, his fierce gaze fixed on Loki. You will not succeed, Loki. Your game of manipulation ends here. Loki smiled, his eyes gleaming with malice. Ah, my dear brother, you do not understand. You are about to release what the gods have imprisoned. And in the end, this will be your demise. With that, the tension in the air intensified, and the clouds above darkened, heralding the approaching storm. The confrontation between Thor, Jormungandr, and Loki was about to unfold, and the fate of all realms hung in the balance. The ocean waters churned violently as Thor prepared for the final confrontation. The colossal serpent of Midgard, Jormungandr, emerged from the depths, its scales gleaming under the light of the lightning that danced in the stormy sky. Thor, wielding Mjolnir, felt that the battle ahead would not only be a physical fight but a test of his determination and leadership. Jormungandr! Thor bellowed, his voice resonating like thunder. I am not your enemy. We are here to seek peace between the worlds. The serpent looked at him, its eyes as deep as abysses, and a roar of discontent echoed through the waters. You, son of Odin, have the audacity to call me for peace? Jormungandr's voice reverberated as if the sea itself were speaking. The gods imprisoned me for millennia, and now they wish for my help? Thor's heart raced upon hearing the pain in the serpent's words. He knew that the situation was complex and that the serpent was not just a monster, but a vital part of the balance between the realms. I understand your pain, but you must realize that I am not like the other gods. What happened in the past cannot be changed, but we can build a different future. Jormungandr hesitated, its scales rippling as the serpent pondered the god's words. You speak of the future, but the gods have never shown themselves to be trustworthy. Ragnarok is inevitable, and I am merely a piece in this game. Why should I help you? Because the true Ragnarok is not a simple battle between gods and giants, Thor replied, firmly. It is the destruction of the balance that maintains our worlds. If you ally with me, we can prevent it from happening. Loki, the god of trickery, is manipulating us all for his own dark purposes. The serpent moved its massive head, analyzing Thor with a gaze that seemed to pierce into his soul. Loki, always the deceiver. He has sown seeds of discord among the gods and humans, and you think you can simply erase that with words? These are not just words, Thor insisted, his tone resolute. I have allies who believe in unity. They are willing to fight by your side to restore balance. But we need you. Without your strength, we will not be able to stop Loki and his schemes. Jormungandr let out a deep roar, echoing across the ocean. And if I break free? What guarantees do I have that I won't be imprisoned again? What guarantees do I have that you won't become like Odin, controlling everything in your path? I promise I will not do that, Thor declared, looking into the serpent's eyes. And, together with you, we will fight anyone who tries to divide us again. We will show everyone that strength is not just in battle, but in the ability to unite our worlds. The serpent seemed to ponder, its scales reflecting the light of lightning as a storm gathered around them. If I agree, it will be a dangerous journey. What you offer me, Thor, is more than an alliance, it is a new purpose. Thor nodded, hope beginning to bloom in his chest. Yes. Together, we can be stronger than anyone ever imagined. But we must act quickly, for Loki will not stand idle. At that moment, the sky darkened even further, and a cutting wind arose. Loki already knows you are here, Jormungandr warned, its expression turning severe. He is always one step ahead. Then we must hurry, Thor affirmed, feeling the urgency of the situation. But do not forget, you are not just a weapon. You are a guardian of balance. Let us work together to restore peace. The serpent, finally convinced, lowered its head in a gesture of acceptance. Then let our pact begin, Thor, son of Odin. Let us show Loki that true strength lies in unity. With that, Thor felt a weight lifted from his shoulders. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead, together. The battle that was approaching would not simply be a fight against an enemy, but a test of their ability to unite the realms and restore what had been broken. The battle unfolded amidst a whirlwind of waters and lightning, each blow from Thor resonating like thunder echoing through the depths of the ocean. Jormungandr, the colossal serpent of Midgard, now stood not as a mere adversary, but as an ally, aware of Loki's manipulation. With eyes shining like flames, the serpent faced the god of trickery, who was attempting to escape the wrath of the gods and humans who united against him. Thor, breathless and with his hair soaked, turned to Jormungandr and shouted, his voice rising above the chaos. Now, Jormungandr, reveal the truth to us all. What do you know about Loki and his plans? The serpent, in its majesty, rose from the waters, its scales reflecting the light as if they were stars. Thor, son of Odin, the true enemy is in sight. Loki seeks not only destruction, he desires domination. Ragnarok is merely a means to an end that will place him above all. The serpent's words resonated in Thor's heart and in his allies, who were tense and ready to strike. Loki, realizing that his strategy was crumbling, took a step back, his eyes shining with desperation. You are fools. Do you think you can imprison me? I am the god of trickery. No one can stop me. He gestured with his hand, conjuring illusions that distorted reality around him. Elara, observing with determination, stepped forward. Loki, you have always hidden behind lies and illusions, but today you will find no refuge. The truth will prevail. Her voice, firm, reverberated in the water like an echo of power. At that moment, the unity of the realms manifested. Gods, humans, and creatures of the sea positioned themselves around Loki, forming a circle of strength. Thor raised his hammer, Mjolnir, and declared, "We are here together, side by side. We will not allow your lies to divide us any longer. Elara, show him the strength you possess." With an agile movement, Elara raised her sword, which shone with a golden light. "I am not just a warrior, Loki. I am the heir to a legacy that unites gods and humans. You cannot break what is already united." And with that, she advanced toward Loki, who was already surrounded. In a final act of desperation, Loki tried to conjure a storm of illusions, but the visions dissolved before the collective determination. Thor, realizing the moment was ripe, launched himself into the attack. "You cannot win against the truth. With your trickery, you tried to divide, but now we will be one." The impact of Thor's hammer struck the ground, and a wave of pulsating energy erupted, enveloping Loki in a whirlwind of light. He struggled, but the strength of unity immobilized him. "No! This cannot be happening!" Loki screamed, his voice overflowing with panic. "This is how your tyranny ends, Loki!" Thor exclaimed as the circle of allies advanced. Jormungandr, with a majestic movement, coiled around Loki, its shining scales trapping the god of trickery like chains of steel. "You have not only betrayed the gods, but also the trust of all beings who inhabit the realms. Your punishment will be eternal." With that, the truth about Elara's nature was revealed, and her courage resonated among those present. "I am one of you, Loki, and you cannot separate us any longer." Her voice echoed with an ancestral power, and all present felt the connection that had been established among them. Loki, now surrounded and with no escape, looked around, his expression of fury transforming into despair. "You will never understand. True strength lies in division, not in unity." But his words lost their power as the union of the realms solidified. With one last burst of energy, Thor raised Mjolnir once more, and a lightning bolt streaked across the sky, illuminating the scene. "Unity is true strength, Loki. And today, we will prove it." Thus, with Loki finally captured and the storm calming down, Thor and his allies turned to Jormungandr. "Thank you, Guardian of the Worlds. Together, we will restore the balance that you protect." The serpent, with a look of gratitude, replied, "Together, you can face any storm. Now, may the true era of peace begin." At that moment, the realms were no longer just gods and humans, they were a new force, united in a common purpose, ready to face any challenge the future held for them. Good night and enchanted dreams.